Welcome everybody. We're going to do a Q&A today with one of the developers from the Redot engine. Redot, how's it go? Andevrs, how are you doing?
Good. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I know there's always a question as to how to pronounce the name. You know, it's definitely a good one. What's your take on it? How do we go with it?
I don't know. Andevrs, I guess.
Yeah,
Most people just call me Drew.
Drew. Okay, well I can call you Drew there, sir. Um, all right. Well, so I guess we kind of all know why we're here today. It's we're there was some interesting kerfuffle a few months back, or about a month ago, actually, at this point, with Godot, and some developers reached out and decided to form a couple of forks. Several of them, indeed, exist now, and Redot seems to be the one that is gaining a lot of popularity. And we're here with Endeavor. And why don't you tell us about your background, kind of where you sit in the I guess the hierarchy of the game, the game engine, where what your position is there, kind of how that all fits together.
I'm kind of the project manager. Deal with all the teams, the web team, the mod team, the engine team. Just try to coordinate things. Um, I mean, I wear a lot of hats. Obviously, I do social media stuff, and yeah. I mean, kind of jack of all trades. And just try to cover as many bases as I can. It is
Right,
a
right.
giant machine, and you just keep all the parts moving.
What were some of the first struggles you dealt with when you were trying to get the port up and running so far?
Uh, well, I mean, obviously there was a lot. We didn't expect everything to blow up like it did,
Yeah.
and we made a Twitter account, made a Discord, um, you know, made the initial fork, and then sort of. Uh, I think we just tweeted it out, and then next thing you know, our Discord was blowing up. So trying to sort of build the ship um, while it's in the ocean
Yeah, yeah. There's a
is kind of the analogy I like to use.
there's a classic commercial from the '90s, or I think it was an IBM commercial. They're flying an airliner, and it's being built in flight with people like blowing around, flying out of it. I think it's an IBM commercial, and
Yeah,
they're
very
like stitching it together, and they talk about software development at the speed of travel, or commerce, or something like that. And it's always like that commercial. It's stuck with
very
me.
very
Yeah,
representative. Very
right. It's
representative.
very apt in all software development builds. Yeah, it's very difficult to yes, everything's kind of in flight at all times.
Hmm.
What
Yeah.
so like from that perspective, like what are, I guess, what are the more like narrow focus like development struggles, like when it comes to the software itself? Like, was it difficult to get running? Was it difficult to get like a continuous, like, do you guys have a CI/CD build, or is it just
Yeah.
okay, and so you got
Yeah.
that running, so how'd that go?
So it's that's so the CI/CD stuff works. There's a lot of issues with getting the builds to come out properly. It seems like it wasn't designed for that, so we're sort of having to build it into GitHub to make it work. Um, yeah, there's so everybody says we'll just fork it. Like
Yep.
like like it only takes 2 seconds to click the fork button, and that is true. But there is a huge amount of work that has to go into getting it up and running as the main project does. Um, so we're not quite there yet, but we're definitely getting there. Um, one of the things that doesn't currently work the way it needs to is the templates for exporting games.
Hmm.
Um, so our system kicks out the templates, but in the engine, you can just click download and it pulls it right in. Um, so we have to go on our website, create mirror, and set it up so that people can just click the download button and get the exports. So currently they're having to you know download a zip. Um, we told them where to go for what system they're using, whether it's Linux, Windows, or Mac, and then just basically unzip it there, and then the engine won't complain about can't find the templates. So that's our current fix. But I believe they are they're getting the mirror situation figured out today, I think. So hopefully going forward, that won't be such an issue.
Yeah, on large projects like that, they can often be very difficult to adopt and start get yourself acquainted with it, get it under your belt, kind of sort out where things need to go. What are I guess what are some of the other technical challenges that your team has met? I guess since you do have now a team of people working on the Redot engine. So like what are some of the technical challenges the team has faced outside of just the Godot stuff?
I mean, that's been a bulk of it. Obviously, we're dealing with a huge amount of people in a short amount of time. So there's a lot of challenges with kind of, I mean, just overall managing the situation. Early on, we got bombed with, people coming in and just trying to create more havoc, or post spam links or talk trash, all this kind of stuff. So, we had people quit over it. They got message death threats and stuff like that, which it's drama. I didn't expect that kind of drama. I honestly didn't think there'd be much in the way of a draw for a fork of Godot, but I mean, obviously, I'm glad there was, and I think we provide a good community and stuff. But it took a while to get to the point where things are kind of a little more, I'll say, mellow.
Yeah,
maybe it's not that mellow yet. There's still things, especially because we're trying to be apolitical and keep things focused on the game, on building games.
Right. I can understand that perspective. Given that, as it is, do you feel like, like you were saying, you got like a strong community behind that? Do you feel like, that's the one thing that I guess I suspect a lot of people were worried about with Godot was that there were people that just came off as toxic or gatekeeping or causing trouble there. Do you feel like you guys have got that kind of nipped in the bud, keep that from happening with your fork as well?
Hopefully.
It's hard, right? I get that.
It's hard. It's a constant ongoing management situation where, it's like riding the waves.
Yeah.
It's kind of a day at a time thing. We just try to manage things as they happen, and you can't control everything everybody says everywhere. So mostly I try to ignore the online stuff for the most part. I don't
get out and touch grass.
Right. Just try to keep things kind of as calm and steady as possible.
Well, right on. Now that you've got the kind of the engine going up and you got builds coming out, and obviously with the mitigation for the package is what you were talking about. I guess that's the build bundles or however that works. What they call them in Godot. It's the way that like a HTML build or because that's what you're explaining before, right? The HTML build is a separate package, and then the CC++ native game, that's a different package.
Right.
And that's the part that was struggle with.
Yes. Right now, somebody has used their computer to set up and kick out all the builds for all the various platforms. So I believe he has to use Docker and some things. I'm not too familiar with how he has it set up.
Right.
But there's a lot of different platforms that Godot can run on, including Android, which is pretty wild. I don't know that, I think we have a few people that use it or have asked for it or, talked about it. Not a lot. I think Mac is another one that we don't have a ton of users. I use it mainly because I use a Mac more for just kind of general stuff. I do have Windows and Linux machines also, but but every now and again I like to just kick around with a laptop and dabble in some 2D game development, and so I have Godot on my Mac for that. But that was one of the things we had to pay for a developer account, and so we could sign.
Oh yeah, because you got Xcode and all that fun.
Yeah,
fun thing. I remember seeing the rant on Pirate Software where he talked about how he just gave up doing Mac dev, where he
Mhm,
goes, for Windows, it's easy. For Linux,
mhm.
it's easy. For Mac, you have to buy Mac hardware. You have to buy a license. You have to get this. And then you have to, you have to build it through Xcode and exclusively through Xcode in order to get it signed. And if something build fails, you have to start that process over again. It's like, ugh.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's been a lot of that, a lot of start over, a lot of rebuild or tweak settings, or the signing was a bit of a pain in the ass. But we finally got that taken care of.
that's great. I guess kind of going forward then, what are
Yeah.
some of the technical improvements that you've already, improvements or ideas that you've had currently, and then what's some of the targeted ideas that you guys got going forward?
Yeah. So we recently rolled out our roadmap. So obviously we're our primary focus is to not deviate Redot too far away from Godot, because we want people to be able to come over and use it. We want people to be able to use the plugins that they're currently using, um, and not have to worry about, is my project even going to run?
Yeah.
Um, so we are very careful about what we decide to put in, just because we don't want to break compatibility. So
Yeah.
that's probably, as far as that goes, like that's probably the biggest focus. Is we want to make improvements and bug fixes, but we don't want it to break things in a way that people can't bring their project over. um so we've talked about, like, working more with add-ons and stuff, and we've got an asset library in the works. We've got a package manager that's being worked on.
Yeah.
um
How does that library stuff work? I guess like you're talking about the Godot store. Is that something you guys still have access to, the asset library or asset store?
Yeah. So the hard part about their asset stores, it's hard to find stuff. It's not very well not managed, organized. It's not very well organized. So a lot of the ideas we've had around that are basically organization and providing a better way for people to find the things that they want to find, and stuff like that. We also want to build game templates so that people can start a project and it'll give them like the basics of a type of game, whether it's platforming or first person shooter, stuff like that. um and then there's a lot of PRs and stuff out there that are already that users have submitted to Godot, but they've obviously sat and languished. So we're looking through those and finding good ones that won't break compatibility, and trying to pull those in. um, we give credit for all the code that we do, so we try to make sure that if we can, we contact the person that did it, um, so that they can just move the PR over. But otherwise, we'll cherry pick it or whatever and make sure they get credit in the code.
Yeah. I think that's important. Like I did read that you guys had changed the licensing terms over there or something. There's something in the licensing terms. Is it still using the Godot license, or is it using MIT, or what's the plan
It's
there?
an MIT license. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same license. Yep.
Oh,
We
okay.
can't change that, so we can't.
Oh, okay, okay.
We don't go through and rip out licensing or anything like that. Um, there was some kerfuffle over a a PR that was cherry picked from another fork,
Oh, okay.
and there were some accusations of not getting credit, but that those were false. We obviously gave credit. We pointed out to where the credit was given, and actually, it's funny because Godot turned around and cherry picked it too.
That's nice.
So now it's slated for their 4.3 release also, which is
Oh,
kind of
that's
funny.
pretty interesting. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're
It's
not.
kind of the nature of open source development, right? It's
Yeah,
how
yeah.
does
That's
that all right? It's something that I've long lamented myself. Like, how do you build something open source, but then feel like you
mhm.
can maintain some control over it? Because I think that those should not be mutually exclusive ideas. but at the same time, when forking someone else's code that is under a license that's super permissive, you can't really undo that license and switch over to something that you can't undo that openness, and that's part of the.
Right. I think and I'm not a complete expert on MIT or open source licensing, but I believe
Mm.
if you've made substantial changes to something, then you can switch the license. But again, I'm not an expert on that. But our goal with this, at least this particular, at least 4.3 for sure,
Mhm.
and 4.4 ongoing for the time being. We want to keep up with Godot in a way that allows people to come over and use Redot but have extra bug fixes and features. So that's kind of our focus for this. We aren't trying to necessarily reinvent the wheel with these two projects. Now we have been discussing an experimental build, which would be a separate repo, but it would give us a place to test some larger things, like just as a for instance, maybe swapping out the renderer, or there's obviously been a lot of discussions about things we could do, different language changes and things like that, but just it would give us something else that or another place we could try things out and see what worked, because there's been a lot of questions about, could you change this or could you change that? And
You don't know
as
till you try.
you don't know until you try. And as developers, you're always thinking about how you can do these things or how it might be
Oh
feasible.
yeah.
So it's going to be probably more of a testing ground at first, where maybe we test out some of these things like changing out the renderer. For some reason, that one's been talked about a lot. The physics engine, maybe building in Bolt.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people that talk about. There's a couple of really good add-ons that you can get.
Or Jolt. Sorry, I don't know why I said
Jolt,
Bolt.
yeah, and then that looked really good when you put them in the Godot engine natively. So it'd be nice to get tighter coupling, like a native build, something like that would be kind of nice.
Yeah, so that would be a place we could test those things out and maybe do some releases for people to test and stuff, and maybe eventually build something that's completely different
Right.
from Godot. But this way people can come use the project, join the community, and not have their games break, while we're also doing some experimentation and figuring out what we could do with the base of the engine.
Yeah. If you like, given how things sit right now, like say in a year, where would you expect compatibility to be? And then like, what about feature plus, like being a superset of Godot versus just
Right.
a feature parity? What do you
Yeah.
think about those? Is that a goal, like long term? Like what features might be useful to add in that case? Like if you had a pipe dream, what's your wish list?
I don't know that I have a wish list. Our interest is listening to the community and seeing what their wish lists are,
Yeah.
and pulling ideas from them. So we actually have a proposals system on our website where people can go and kind of see what's at the top of the list. I think one of them, let me see, I can pull it up. One of them is being worked on now, which is a new package manager.
Oh, okay.
So that was kind of a big thing. It wasn't included, and people are interested in it. So someone's actually working on it now. So we're using the kind of proposal system to gauge what the community wants, and just kind of go from there. We're obviously taking ideas and people submitting issues and PRs, and just trying to get a good sense of what the community is asking for, and then seeing if it's feasible without breaking compatibility.
Well, right on. you should probably give some shout outs to the people in your community and group, just people that have been helping out that you really feel are pulling their weight. And I think that's really important. If you have any way you can think of, just
Everybody.
everybody. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I
That's
mean,
great.
this whole thing wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for the community and the people that have jumped in to help. I mean, there's been so many between devs, getting involved and wanting to build this thing out, and both the web team, the mod team, all the members. We've got people that are now helping. They're donating to our Ko-fi account. And I mean, just all kinds of people are helping. People are making videos. Our logo was created by a member of the community.
Mm-hmm.
Saying we had a mascot contest and a logo contest, and people just submitted tons and tons of art, and then everybody voted on it. So without all the people that decided we were worth taking a chance on, we wouldn't exist. So, a huge thank you to pretty much everybody, Discord, Twitter, all of the other social medias. Yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. It's been a blast. It's been a really crazy ride, but it's been a lot of fun.